Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. I first want to begin with saying that we wish Mr. Carranza well. In the education arena, sometimes there is turnover, and people need to expand their skill sets, and that's from teachers to principals to superintendents. And so we wish him well. We hate that he thought the Yankees were better than the Astros. We know better. But the district vision is the same. It does not change. The board has set the vision and the mission, and we are continuing to head in that trajectory. Our academic progress is on an upward scale, and we are scrubbing our budgets every day to maximize the efficiency of our limited dollars. Our chiefs, the cabinet, the teachers, staff, and this board are committed to delivering the best education that our kids are entitled to. We are committed to doing that in a unified way. We are one vision, and that is to ensure that our schools come off IR, that we don't have any additional schools go into IR, and that we can use our limited dollars in a way that does least harm to impact our classrooms. We will not be choosing a superintendent until we have worked through the process and decided how we do that. We have three options. We can choose a short-term interim and do a search immediately. We can choose a long-term interim and postpone the search till a time uncertain, or we can post the position and hire immediately. Those discussions have not taken place. We were just given the options today. We looked at our options for the contract that we're currently in, and because we have a board member absent, we did not go any further into conversations because the full board needs to be present for that, and she's on the plane right now. On Thursday, we will be in closed session to discuss those possibilities. We will make some decisions then and start to look at candidates shortly thereafter for an interim position. We are joined by our mayor, Sylvester Turner, our state representative, Alma Allen, and our Congresswoman, Sheila Jackson Lee. All of those branches of government are represented because they are standing with us as a board to support our kids, because it takes all of us. And we want to give our mayor a chance to have a few words around this subject today.
Let me thank the chairman of the board, chairperson of the board, and certainly to all the board members of HISD, and to Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and State Representative Alma Allen. Let me just say good morning. I certainly want to thank Board President Rhonda Skiller Jones and the entire Board of Education for including all of us in today's important discussion about the future of Houston ISD. Yesterday, we were surprised, I know I was surprised, by Superintendent Richard Carranza's decision to resign. I wish him well, but we certainly will not let the abrupt departure create chaos for the state's largest school district. Our focus today is the district's 215,000 children, each and every child enrolled in about 284 schools. The students' academic achievement is the priority. Their ability to continue learning without distraction and to go on to graduate are top priorities. I encourage the school board to name an interim leader, or whoever they so desire, who will navigate through the challenges that the district is facing. Hurricane Harvey created challenges for the city and the school district over the past 6 months. Schools were shut down, and at least 4 must be rebuilt. Recapture has also caused financial uncertainty for the district. Houston ISD faces about a $115 million deficit for the 2018-2019 school year. A lot has happened over the last 6 months, and what I certainly would say, this is an opportunity for all of us to kind of pause, reassess as we move forward. I stand here today along with the board and the Congresswoman and State Representative Alma Allen, and basically saying that I am willing and prepared to join with HISD, the board, parents, community leaders, and the business community to help to stabilize HISD financially and to ensure that every child receives a quality education that he or she deserves. We are not going backwards. We are going forward together, and we're going to do it together. We are going to work together to improve our underperforming schools, to take them off our status. And we're going to persevere and march forward to do what is best for students, their parents, and teachers. We will not fail. In fact, we cannot fail. And so today we are standing together with HISD. This school district is very important to the city of Houston. No one entity can do it alone. But if we work together on a united front, I am convinced, I'm deeply persuaded that HISD's best days are ahead of it and not behind it. We're sorry to see Superintendent Carranza leave, but let me just say there is so much talent that exists that together we can make this, and it is and will continue to be, an excellent school district for the entire city of Houston. I look forward to working with you.
State Representative Alma Allen. First, I'd like to say congratulations to Superintendent Carranza and thank him for the time that he spent with us. I also want to say that we stand in solidarity with the HISD board, with the HISD administrations, and particularly the teachers and the students who will be receiving all of the great services that HISD has to provide. I want to say that at the state level, I will do all I can to assist the district in correcting or providing laws that will allow them to proceed in the manner that they need to provide the very best education for all of the students in the Houston Independent School District. Lastly, I want to commit to HISD that I personally will do everything that I can to make this a success. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I believe the important message is today that all three levels of government, the mayor of the city of Houston, an educational leader in the state legislature, Representative Allen, and the United States Congress, the United States government, have one goal, and that is to prioritize our children and their families, to say thank you to our teachers and staff, our bus drivers and law enforcement, and to express our appreciation for the unity of the HISD School Board led by President Skillern Jones. I hope that the picture today is not viewed as insignificant or viewed as unimportant. You have the majority of the school board with a commitment of unity and success. I think that is a message that I gleaned from the conversations that I know that the mayor's had and I've had with the governor of the state of Texas, which I will continue to have discussions, and the TEA administrator. To both of them, we're standing here to answer your requests. We are taking account and we are holding ourselves accountable for the success of our students. With that in mind, I think it is crucial that you respond to that acceptance of accountability by granting us two things. We want a waiver of the testing until 2019. We want a suspension of the sanctions for us to be able to work with a variety of thinkers, educators, policymakers, business community, faith community, parents, teachers, and others. That ability will allow our children to breathe and to feel loved. Last evening, I held about a 200 to 300 person meeting of hurricane survivors. The city was present, as they have been from the very start, but there were still families displaced from their normal school setting, children living in hotels. Someone has got to understand that this is a resilient Houston, but we're not yet the Houston and Harris County that we have been, and the children are most impacted. So I will be seeking a waiver from the U.S. Department of Education, which has as a requirement third grade testing, and to ask them, in light of Hurricane Harvey, that they not pressure the state to provide for the testing for 2018. I want to say to the board that your greatest strength is each other and the unity that you are showing today. I want to say to the administration building, I see many staff persons here, the best gift that you can give to the children is conversation of success and victory, and being able to support these board members with every manner of strength that you can have. Because if we show one schism, it will be a schism that someone will try and take advantage of. I spoke to, as we have all been doing, the business community. They are not here, but I want to speak on their behalf as to the reflection or representation of their commitment to this school district. And with a little bit of humor, let me say, whenever I say to people, do you want the headlines of the New York Times and Washington Post, of which will be said, the city of Houston schools have shut down. We'll lose that excitement of the World Series Astros, which blinded everybody in the last year, continue to do so. They will grab onto that headline, which will not be true. I don't want that to be the definition of our children. So I'd offer the thoughts of the business community that they will be unified in meeting with local officials and the board. And with a little presumption on my part, I've calculated $115 million. And I know that in the last 5 years or so, they quickly gathered $20 million for a project that many of us had different opinions about, but their heart was good. I frankly believe that in the span of time, under a business expense or charitable deduction, that our business community could raise $115 million on a drawdown basis for this school district. And whatever interim person, long-term, that might be selected would be able to lead us through the next level of learning for our children. I don't say this lightly, and I don't believe it is impossible. I do say with a bit of humor that everyone was celebrating on a tax cut that will hurt the federal government, but the flush of dollars in corporate America is enormous. We are calculating it as we speak. And so I think a very good use of those dollars. Parents are employed by these corporations, and they're in these school districts, would be this one-time infusion of dollars that would be able to respond to the one-time crisis that we're now in. So I simply conclude by as well wishing Superintendent Carranza my best wishes. I will tell him that it is bitterly cold in New York. I go to Washington and I know it well. I'm sure that he faced the Northeasterner, and there will be many more to come. But we thank him for his focused leadership, and I see no reason why the leadership that is here with the board and the leadership that is within the staff and others that you may seek help from, I have enormous confidence as a partner and someone who intends to, in essence, roll up her sleeves, again, that we will be successful. We only need the state to listen to the mayor, listen to the state representative, and others, listen to the board, that they will be able to move these children, and maybe most of all the children. I finished on this note. Last night I had a 6-year-old sing the national anthem. and knew every single word. Our children can learn. And if you don't want to listen to us, listen to the children and let us embrace them and let us say, not on our watch will we close these schools, because we cannot disappoint these children. Thank you for your leadership, Madam President, and for the board.
So I want to say this in closing before we take questions. We took a real quick assessment of our board, and I can tell you we have 4 former teachers, 1 that just left the classroom, 1 that went on to leadership. So we have classroom teachers leadership represented, 2 who worked for other entities, including a nonprofit. We have a long-term, long-serving board member who has more years on the board than all of us. We have 2 former city council women. We have an attorney. We have legislative advocates, and we have moms. And dads. Hey, Dad. We have grandparent power and girl power. There is not a challenge that those skill sets cannot overcome. So we are better together. We are aware of our challenges, and we each have our own responsibility that we are committed to in solving those challenges. We cannot be divided, and that's by the media or the naysayers. We will not be divided because our children are more important than our own self-interest. We have a strong staff who have carried us over this last year through all of these challenges, including Harvey. They proved themselves. We have an academic chief who is amazing at what she does. And we have full faith and confidence that our cabinet will lead our staff, and that we will soon plug the hole of superintendent to lead our cabinet, and that in the near future, any crisis or problems that HISD have will become a distant memory. Last thing we're going to say to the media: if you don't treat us fairly, we will not interact with you. We don't believe in fake news. So thank you for coming. Thank you for covering us, and ensure that, because we want to ensure that our voices are heard, but we also want to ensure that you treat us fairly when you're doing it, because our kids and their situation depends on how this district is depicted and that they are dealt with fairly. So we are standing strong with that. We'll take questions now, and then Sergio will field the Spanish requirements after we're done. But we'll take questions.
With concern with parents, how are you going to?
I'm sorry. He's going to translate in Spanish, and then we'll transition to questions.
Voy a decir unas pocas palabras en español para la comunidad que habla español. Primero queremos felicitar al señor Carranza por su servicio a nuestro distrito. Lo felicitamos mucho, que va a cambiar el calor para el frío. Sin embargo, tenemos que seguir adelante con las iniciativas de que tenemos ahorita en el distrito. Todos juntos podemos seguir adelante para asegurar que todo estudiante, cada estudiante siga adelante. Tenemos maestros, tenemos administradores, tenemos miembros de la mesa directiva, tenemos miembros de la ciudad, del estado y el gobierno federal apoyando que sigamos con nuestra misión de asegurar que nuestras iniciativas sigan adelante para cada estudiante. Y lo más importante en este momento, que es una prioridad, es seguir con las escuelas que están bajo un nivel académico y todas las iniciativas que está haciendo el distrito para asegurar que ningún niño se quede atrás y que ningún niño podemos tener que cerrar las escuelas. Vamos a seguir con esta mesa directiva que es muy unida y vamos a seguir adelante. Y no vamos todavía a escoger un superintendente. El jueves vamos a a seguir el proceso, vamos a tener diálogo y vamos a tomar el tiempo para asegurar que la persona más indicada para mover el distrito para adelante sea la persona más indicada. Muchas gracias.
With concerns with parents, specifically the magnet program, it was no question that Carranza had led the role in leading some of the things that would help, address issues that the district are facing. These parents are concerned, well, the person who was leading the efforts is now gone. How can you ensure that the vision that he was leading, will be carried out, especially with this magnet program?
So the vision is set by the board. That's the operating procedure. And the superintendent and the cabinet are tasked with the how. But our vision on this board has not changed. So the leader that comes in will simply be tasked with the how of the current vision.
And with the specific magnet program, parents were saying, it was controversial. Some parents were really for it, some were not for it. How would that be affected now that Carranza is leaving, since he was sort of the one who had led the effort on equity and equality?
We have a magnet proposal on the table that was presented, and that magnet proposal will be what the board will vet and vote on. That was already established before Carranza resigned.
What are the characteristics you're looking for in the next superintendent?
We have not, as a board, sat and narrowed those. We each have our own individual ones, but until we meet and have a collective conversation, we can't compile a profile.
Superintendent Carranza has a 3-year contract with the district. And part of the contract says he can get out of it if the board mutually agrees with him to let him leave. Is that something the board is prepared to do, or how are you guys going to handle his contract?
So we were given that information today, and we reviewed the contract. When our absent board member returns on Thursday, we will discuss which of the options in the contract we will be setting forth.
When and how were you informed of the superintendent's departure, and do you think it was appropriate the way it was done?
So before the announcement, I, as the board president, was informed, and then subsequently asked him to call each individual board member and inform them as well, and then the announcement was made in New York.
Do you think it was appropriate the way it was handled, or the way he handled it?
I do.
Would you put a priority on finding somebody local when searching for your next superintendent?
We haven't had those discussions.
And
Mr.
how will
Carranza,
compensation be handled? He's still, according to his contract, he still looks like he's going to be paid as a board. Have you guys started having those conversations about, his exit, whether he'll be compensated full?
So our attorney advised us today that we will, what our options are, and we will decide as a board how to go forth with that.
so until today, Mr. Carranza is still superintendent of HISD.
He is still superintendent of HISD. He has given us an approximate 2 weeks, give or take, and that's what we're looking at as far as time frame goes.
And I know Thursday is going to be the meeting, but during that meeting, are you guys going to be discussing getting an interim superintendent or starting the process of hiring a new superintendent?
We're going to discuss all those possibilities and decide on which of those options we will take moving forward.
Will Mr. Carranza be at any of these meetings? When you say 2 weeks, will he be physically here during any of that time working?
So he has not informed us that he's taking leave during that time, so our expectation is that he will be here unless he informs us that he's taking leave.
So do you expect him to be involved in the process of finding a new superintendent?
No.
Do you know if the superintendent traveled to New York City on HISD resources, using those resources? There are reports that he may have done so.
We have not heard those reports, and I wouldn't expect that to be the case.
Do you know for sure, or you just don't expect?
We do not know that. We certainly can look into that, though.
So all of you knew that yesterday he was going to go to New York and
We did not.
nobody knew from the board, nobody.
We did not.
Well, he was upset because he took a personal day. How did he not come to work yesterday?
So we don't routinely ask the superintendent what he's doing with his leave days.
Okay, so he cannot. One day he cannot come to the office and nobody asks any questions about it.
Any employee is entitled to use their leave and not have to explain what they're doing that day. So So we can have someone talk to you after the press conference. We're going to stay within the confines of the topic, but I'll make sure that our academic department gets with you immediately after this.
Is the board looking at redoing its contracts for any future superintendents to ensure that the superintendent has to give a certain amount of notice before they decide to take another job or leave the district?
So that's certainly a consideration. I've looked at 2 superintendent searches and contracts, and they've both been very different. So it depends on the needs for the district at the time that the contract is constructed.
Is there any possibility that you won't let him out of the contract at all, or is that happening?
That's an option in the contract. We haven't discussed that.
Have y'all heard from TEA at all after this?
I happened to be in Austin when this happened yesterday, meeting with the deputy commissioner, and subsequently met with the commissioner as well.
And what was the response? Do you have any more concern about, you know?
No, it was just for information purposes, to inform them of what was happening.
So do you think that this increases the chances of people who are interested in taking over the district and willing to do that?
Do we think it affects the candidate pool? Is that what you're
Does
saying?
this give them leverage?
Give who leverage?
TEA, the people in Austin who are interested in taking over the district, whether they be elected officials or people who work for TEA.
Well, I don't think there's a provision under the law that accelerates it in this case, but you'd have to consult with TEA about their opinions. I couldn't speak for them.
You have Representative Allen something? Representative, are you interested in applying for the job? No.
You had mentioned that the board creates the vision, and the superintendent is in charge with the how. Does it concern you at all, the learning gap that might exist, having someone come in to fill these shoes?
Certainly that will be a discussion in the portion of the process where we talk about what we would and would not like to see in the profile. And to the previous question, I've just received confirmation that the superintendent paid for his stay and his flight with his own personal credit card.
Had you been informed earlier enough about this possible departure, do you think the board could have done anything or said anything to convince him?
So there's no way to gauge that. I mean, that's not a question we could ask. That's a if.
Could you describe the nature of that conversation when you did speak to him over the phone?
He informed me that he had taken the job.
And your reaction?
I was surprised.
Would you be able to elaborate on the impact that it has? I mean, clearly it is a very, it's a time where you all look very somewhat concerned. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what is the impact of him leaving during this very sensitive time?
So the work of this district doesn't revolve around just the superintendent. The board drives the vision for the district, and we have competent staff who are at every turn meeting the needs of the district. So we are not overly concerned that there is any imminent danger of anything catastrophic or tragic happening. The work goes on daily, and we will fill in the superintendent or an interim shortly. So I don't think any of us are worried.
Can I just add?
Sure.
If I can just add to that, please bear in mind this is the city of Houston. Okay, it's the fourth largest city, soon to be the third. This district is not predicated its success on any one person. It's a collective, and I think the success of this district is not depending on one. I think one of the reasons why we're all standing is that the success of the district depends on all of its partners. That's why Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee is here on the federal level. State Representative Al Allen here on the state level. I'm here representing the city. I've had conversations with the business community. We're all standing shoulder to shoulder with HISD. I think what this has done, the abrupt departure, is that it has incentivized the rest of us to embrace HISD even more so. You mean to tell me we're going to let New York take one of our persons and our school district lag behind? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so it has incentivized the rest of us to come together on behalf of 215,000 kids. And the focus is on the kids. Now, there are things that you can't prevent from happening, or there are things that will happen. The question is how you manage what has happened and move forward. The message that I think we all want to convey to the 215,000 kids is that we are standing together, shoulder to shoulder, to make sure they continue to receive the quality of education that they rightfully deserve. And this district will not and cannot fail, but rather the district will be even stronger and better than it has been. So you hate to see people go, but people come and go all the time. The reality is there are processes and systems in place that will choose the next interim or permanent, and the district will move on. If I step away being the mayor, you think the city gonna stop? No matter how important I may think I am. The city is not going to stop. It may pause for a moment, and then someone else will step in my shoes, and the city will move on, okay? Now, HISD bears Houston's name, and as the Congresswoman says, as go HISD, so will go the city of Houston. And so, you know, enough on Carranza. I wish him well, but now the focus is on the 215,000 kids that are still here, depending on the rest of us to come together like never before. And I'm looking forward to the future of HISD and the city of Houston. Okay?
May I just say one word to your, I don't know how the structure works. We have to secure our schools. But I hope that through the next couple of days, through the board's leadership and staff, media will be able to, as I've seen you, go to schools and see our children learning. I hope you get that from this press conference, that children are learning all over the school district, number one. Number two, I hope that you will see parents are participating like this grandmother in what's going on with their children all over this district. And number three, I hope that you turn your cameras toward the state for them to answer our written request, our meeting request, because while this board is looking for their long-term or interim person, and I hope interim, long-term, so that we all can get the magnet program vision moving, that the pause on the sanctions and testing can then allow this school board to move on the plan that it has for the enhanced education of our children. So I hope there will be some cameras asking those individuals, can they move expeditiously to give those answers that will allow these individuals. And I said third, but lastly, I take seriously the ability of corporate Houston to address the financial issues on a one-time basis. $20 million was the last allotment. That was voluntary. 5 times 20 would get you to 100. We have more than that number of corporations who are available and ready to provide assistance. These are our children. And my message is, if you tell the stories of teachers and children learning, it will give confidence to parents and maybe confidence to you that the wheels are still churning, the train is still on the track. And I also hope that it will give me the impetus for the Secretary of Education to recognize that, along with the administration who committed to getting Houston back on her feet, Harris County after Hurricane Harvey, that the educational component is clearly major. Just as an admission from me, the FEMA dollars for education have not yet come because of the slow wheels of the federal government. So if your school is damaged, the resources that they need, they have the resources, but they've not yet been translated through FEMA for the federal dollars that we have approved. So we are still in a mode of recovery and restoration. This is a time that we join together with that idea and say this is the best time to fix and to excel, but to pause so that we can do what is necessary. All the elements, I think, can be helpful, and I agree with the mayor that we can do great things together, and this is Houston. This is Houston. And if we win the World Series as we did, if we won the World Series, if we think we're going to win the Super Bowl coming up, then clearly between the World Series and the Super Bowl, we can win for these students in Houston.
President Skiller-Jones, what would the impact be of $115 million to the district? What would that impact be to the district to be able to secure those from the business community?
You mean if we were able to secure that?
Yes.
Oh, that would alleviate a huge burden from the cuts, everywhere from classroom to staffing to services.
So that it would, in terms of, a student, what would that mean for a student and a family to be able to have $115 million back into the district? How does that translate to students and families?
So we're looking at cutting services that impact the classroom. We're looking at, let's just say, custodial staff. We're looking at larger class sizes. I mean, there's a myriad of things that will affect during this budget. But this isn't about budget today. So when we get to that point where we're at a final budget, I'm sure we'll do this again. So in special ed, this is our special ed guru. The services, we were trying to accelerate services for special ed, and of course that takes dollars as well. And so it will impact every student. There won't be a student that will not be impacted at 115, nor will we be able to keep all of our staff intact.
Thank you. Some questions in Spanish. Okay. Last question in Spanish.
¿Cuánto se espera que el distrito va a gastar en la búsqueda de un nuevo superintendente?
Todavía no hemos determinado el costo en la búsqueda de un superintendente. Todavía no hemos decidido si vamos a buscar internamente aquí en el distrito primero, pero el jueves vamos a tener más información para ustedes.
¿El último día del superintendente sería?
¿Perdón?
¿El último día del superintendente sería cuándo?
Ay, no estamos muy seguros, pero se me hace que son 2 o 3 semanas.
Siento que hay un poco de tensión entre los miembros, sobre todo por el mensaje que dio la presidenta sobre si los medios de comunicación no nos tratan bien, nosotros no vamos a comunicar. Y no quiero que exista esa barrera entre los medios de comunicación y ustedes, porque yo creo que ahorita en estos momentos es cuando más necesitan los medios de comunicación de ustedes. Entonces, creo yo que quiero que me explique por qué hay tensión entre ustedes. Siento yo que hay algo que no quieren decirnos, o siento hay algo que están escondiendo.
No, yo no. Sí, yo personalmente no estoy al tanto de por qué existe una tensión entre la prensa y nosotros. Sabemos que a veces la información no sale como uno dice, ¿verdad? Y lo saca fuera del contexto, pero tenemos que trabajar juntos, colaborar juntos y siempre tratar de mandar el mensaje positivo para la comunidad.
¿Y el mensaje a los padres de familia cuál sería?
Que aseguren que vamos a trabajar unidos todos aquí en la mesa directiva con la ciudad de Houston y el estado, de que vamos a seguir adelante con la misión y la meta de asegurar que todos los niños reciban una buena educación. Vamos a trabajar muy duro, más unidos que antes, en este momento difícil, de asegurar que todos los niños reciben una buena educación. Que no se preocupen, vamos a seguir adelante. El río sigue adelante, sigue corriendo. Aunque esté una persona ahí, estamos nosotros.
¿Un tiempo aproximado en el que podrían tardar en buscar un nuevo superintendente?
Ahorita tenemos 3 opciones y vamos a dialogar. No tenemos exactamente el tiempo, pero vamos a dialogar. Para el jueves tengamos más información.
¿Algo aproximado? ¿Meses?
Pues tenemos que hacerlo pronto porque se termina la escuela en 3 meses y la siguiente escuela comienza en 5 meses. Entonces, tenemos que tomar una decisión rápida, pero también tenemos que tomar el tiempo de buscar a la persona más preparada y más calificada para este puesto.
Gracias. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Well, I have just a closing statement. So in closing, I'd like to say my colleagues and I stand ready to do the work. We're committed to ensuring that the academic achievement continues with continuity, and we are asking that the entire city support us in supporting our kids. Thank you, and thank you for coming.